Monday, everybody. Hope you're having a great day today. Hope you had a wonderful, relaxing weekend. I did not. I have once again been dealing with a bunch of sinus issues, and it started on Thursday. And I thought I was about to get a migraine because I started getting those little floaters in your eyes that you typically can get before the migraine headache sets in. So I took some Advil. Never got the headache, but I had the spots for about 30 minutes to an hour maybe. But then also, every time I would like turn my head or like to, move my eyes around to look at something, I got slightly dizzy, like my equilibrium was off. And it's so, I don't know how to explain how my eyes felt. So, like when I would look at something and my eyes would move, or even just my head, it almost felt like, I don't know if you've ever seen anybody who can wiggle their eyes back and forth really fast. So every time I moved, that's what it felt like my eyes were doing, and then they would slow down and focus and stop. It's not like it lasted forever, it was, maybe a couple seconds or less, maybe even quicker than that, but it felt really weird, and I didn't like it. And it started up again on Saturday when I was at work, and then just, I don't know, slightly nauseous, even with my eyes closed. I felt like my head was spinning. Still feel that way sometimes. I'm not completely over it, but I hate the filling. However, I had to record. If I can get up and talk, then I can record. No reason why I can't. So let's go ahead and start out with our daily promise. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. 2 Corinthians 12:9. God's grace is greater than our weakness. When we admit our weaknesses, then more of Christ's strength can be manifested in us. We are used more when we are made less. Exactly. I can't remember what scripture it is, what verse it is, but when it talks about you have to sacrifice the flesh daily, so every day you have to sacrifice your flesh to live the way God intended you to live. And it's very hard because we live in such a corrupted, flawed body that wants to do wrong. That's human nature. And it is only, and I'm not saying that people that are not saved, that aren't Christians, are bad people. There are people that are really good people as far as what they do, how they treat people. They're great, but there are things that they do that God would consider a sin. And so they may be this really great person, but let's say they smoke. Maybe they smoke cigarettes, maybe they smoke marijuana. God considers that a sin, obviously, because you're not supposed to destroy your body because it's a temple when you're saved. So they may not have a conscience or be convicted that that's not right because they don't have the Holy Spirit because they're not saved. But someone who's saved and they do that, they're going to have to fight against that flesh to want to do those things that they did before they got saved. Hope that made sense. Anyway, sorry. I was taking medicine for nausea. Um, Nausine, it's great for nausea. Um, it's just a chewable pill. You're supposed to buy it at Walmart for like $7, I think. You can get quite a few. You're supposed to chew it. I like to just suck on it because it seems like if you just suck on it till it's like really small, like a piece of candy, it seems to help my nausea better. Anyway, outside of that, let's get to what we're here to talk about today. First thing I want to talk about is I heard about this through watching Matt Walsh, and I was absolutely disgusted. And now I'm disgusted when anybody hurts another human being, whether it's just to injure them or they kill them. It's disgusting behavior. But let's see. Where's that one at? Yeah. Okay. So This here is Sonia Harmasillo. I guess that's how you say her name. So this is from lawandcrime.com, written by Jerry Lamb. So she was convicted of murdering her infant son because she pushed him off of a hospital parking garage. Absolutely disgusting. So on Wednesday, she was convicted of first-degree murder for killing her 7-month-old son by pushing him off the fourth story of a hospital parking garage. A jury found 41-year-old Sonia Hermosillo of La Habra guilty on one felony count of first-degree murder and one felony count of assault on a child causing death. Hermosillo had pleaded not guilty to the charges by reason of insanity. Now, let me tell you, first of all, I hate the defense. They can't stand trial. They're not guilty because of being insane. Yeah, anybody who does this kind of thing is absolutely insane. But just because they're insane does not mean that they don't know right from wrong. Claiming that they're insane is to say that, well, they just didn't understand that what they did was wrong. Baloney. They absolutely. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew it was wrong. And yes, that's insane behavior. Of course it is. But that can't be a defense every time someone does something that people would be like, man, I don't understand why this man would murder this man in the middle of a robbery, but it's you kind of get it because the guy was fighting him and he wanted the money, so he killed him. But to just throw your kid off of a hospital parking garage, your baby, that hits people in a much different way. And it does seem very insane. But once again, it does not mean that she did not know what she was doing was wrong. I believe she absolutely knew it was wrong. According to the district attorney's office, the same jury who found Hermosillo guilty of murder will now be charged with deciding whether she was legally insane when she pushed her son, No Medina Jr., aka Baby No, to his death. The sanity trial is currently scheduled to begin on August 24th. They shouldn't even be doing this. This shouldn't even be happening. You know what? She did it. She even admitted to doing it. We'll probably get to that in the story later. She said what she did. I believe she explained why she did it. Guilty. That's it. This is a death penalty murder. If you can so callously throw your child, your baby, 7 months old, off of a building, you deserve the death penalty. And as Matt Walsh said, let's take you up to the top story of a building and push you off and see how you like it. Now, in order to be found legally insane under California law, a defendant is required to show by a preponderance of the evidence that they either did not understand the nature of the criminal act they committed or they did not understand that their conduct was morally wrong. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a second. And I'm going to make an argument. It's a disgusting argument, but I'm going to make it nonetheless. So she did not understand that their conduct was morally wrong. Okay. So the left has always said that a woman has a right to choose. She can kill her child up until the point of birth, and in some states, even after birth, where they'll just let the baby sit there and die after they make a decision. That comes from the governor of Virginia. Can't remember that idiot's name. That's okay. That's not morally wrong, considers the left. So maybe she figured, well, they said up until the time of birth and even after, and it took me a little longer to decide that I didn't want a child, so I just did what they said I have a right to do, the right to choose. My body, my choice, right? Because in the womb, it's my body, my choice, even though that's two separate bodies. So make the argument that, yeah, but I still have to take care of them. I still have to feed them. I have to change them. They would be dead without me. So it's still my body, my choice. I could almost see that argument being made. I truly can. And based on the left standards, it actually isn't morally wrong. But they're morons, and it is morally wrong, even inside the womb. And Matt Walsh made the illustration that if we make the argument that if she had done this just 7 months earlier for the same reasons to the same child, she would be celebrated and screaming about her abortion and how proud she was of her abortion, and it would be okay. But because she waited until after the baby's born, now it's murder, but they're both murder. So why is the one okay and the other is not? And he feels like the left is going to say, you're right, and then start making the push to say that killing your children, even after they're born, much after they're born, is morally okay. Wouldn't surprise me if they go down that road somewhere. Let's keep reading. On August 22nd, 2011, Harmasillo drove No to the Children's Hospital of Orange County, where he had been receiving regular treatment for a congenital condition that left his neck twisted to one side, as well as for flathead syndrome that made it necessary for him to wear a protective helmet at all times. On that day, however, Harmasillo did not have an appointment to see any of the doctors. Prosecutors said that Harmasillo parked her car on the fourth floor of the parking garage, unhooked the baby's medical helmet, and pushed him off the structure. A witness saw the child fall and immediately called 911. Harmasillo then walked inside the hospital, validated her parking, and drove away. That's from the DA. The baby was rushed to the University of California Irvine Medical Center's trauma unit in critical condition, but died 2 days later. So not only did she do this to her child, but it wasn't an instant death and relief from pain. 2 days this baby suffered in pain. But I will say this, that child is far better off not being here with that psychopath. Far better off. It's not right. I don't condone it. But if it didn't happen now, I could see it happening years down the road. So it's a sad situation, but that woman should be given the death penalty. And if they don't, I don't know. I've heard it's somewhere between 25 years to life, because California doesn't necessarily like the death penalty. And I don't think she actually qualifies for the death penalty, because I think death penalty, that's capital murder. And I think it's something, I don't know. I can't exactly remember what constitutes a capital murder. Let me see. Gonna have to look because it's gonna drive me nuts. So capital murder was a statutory offense of aggravated murder in Great Britain, in Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland, which was adopted as a legal provision. Okay, well, but what is it? Yeah, I know, but what is it? So it's a crime in which the perpetrator commits an act that results in death and either intends to kill someone or knows that their actions will most likely result in death. It occurs when someone commits murder in the course of committing one or more other felony offenses. So, yeah, she probably would qualify for capital murder charges, the death penalty, it seems like, because she committed two crimes at the same time. And I'm pretty sure child abuse is a felony. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. So, felony child abuse is used to describe a crime in which an adult inflicts bodily harm on a minor. This harm is generally classified as being severe and is oftentimes potentially life-threatening. Yeah, so it's felony child abuse for sure. So death penalty all the way. And I will stand by that decision. I don't care what anybody says. A few hours later, Hermosillo's husband, Noah Medina, called police to report his son and wife missing. He told police that his wife had been struggling with depression and was not allowed to be alone with the baby. Her attorney said she would often go catatonic and sometimes just wander off without explanation. She had recently been placed on a psychiatric hold and hospitalized for several days. Well, that almost seems like maybe even the father failed this child. How did she end up with the child? Who was watching this baby when she wasn't supposed to be alone with the baby? Hello? Seems like a lot of people failed this child. Officers spotted Hermosillo driving past the hospital that evening and took her into custody. During the trial, the road to which had been blocked by years-long delays, prosecutors said that Hermosillo told police that she was intentionally trying to kill her son and that she harbored hate, resentment, and anger towards him. "No, I would rather he died," she said when they asked if she hoped the child would recover from the four-story fall. She reportedly said she killed him because he's sick and added, "That's why I don't love him." This is a culture created by the left that killing babies because they interfere with your lifestyle is morally right. And now they're going as far as to even just kill their children as babies, toddlers, and they seem to think that this is perfectly okay behavior. They've been told that it's okay to get rid of your child so you can live your life. They've been told that. They've been brainwashed into thinking that. The most basic job of a parent is to keep their children safe from harm. This child didn't even have the chance to take his first steps, say his first word, or even celebrate his first birthday before he was murdered by the very person whose job was supposed to keep him safe, DA Todd Spitzer said in a written statement. Baby Noe may not have been on this earth very long, but the men and women of the Orange Police Department and the Orange County District Attorney's Office never gave up the fight for justice in this case. Harmasillo's attorney did not immediately respond to an email from Law and Crime. Let's read some of the comments here. This is horrifying, but it does sound like she was having so don't make excuses for her. Oops. She was intentionally trying to kill her son and that she harbored hate, resentment, and anger towards him. Just because a woman is physically capable of conceiving, carrying, and bearing a child is not the same as being a mother. Some women are just not cut out for motherhood. Okay, well, not any really good comments there. So this is the type of culture that's been created, right? So, I don't know. It's nuts to me. I, I don't get it. All right. Well, speaking of, really, it's not speaking of psychos, but um, so a judge has ordered Biden to re-implement the stay in Mexico border policy. This is by Ryan Severda. I always say his name wrong. From Daily Wire. So a federal judge ordered Biden's admin late on Friday to re-implement a key policy from President Donald Trump that forced foreign nationals seeking to enter the U.S. through the southern border illegally or without proper documentation to be returned to Mexico and wait there while their legal cases are adjudicated. Judge Matthew J. Kaczmarek, and I think that's how you say that, ordered Biden to enforce and implement the Remain in Mexico policy in good faith until a time as it has been lawfully rescinded in compliance with the Administrative Procedure Act and until such a time as the federal government has sufficient detention capacity to detain all aliens subject to mandatory detention under Section 1255 without releasing any aliens because of a lack of detention resources. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt, who filed the lawsuit with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, celebrated the win on social media, tweeting, "Big win for border security. We just won our second immigration lawsuit against the Biden admin. They unlawfully tried to shut down the legal and effective Remain in Mexico program, but Texas and Missouri wouldn't have it." Paxton's office wrote in a tweet, "Together we sued and just handed Biden yet another major loss." The judge's order comes after Biden's Department of Homeland Security released new statistics yesterday showing that Biden's boarding catastrophe worsened for the sixth consecutive month as U.S. Customs and Border Protection apprehended 212,672 illegal aliens, the worst month ever recorded by DHS, which was created in 2002. So Schmidt explained the importance of the Remain in Mexico policy. Stephen Miller tweeted out, "National hero Ken Paxton has secured a massive judicial win, compelling the lawless Biden admin to resume the Remain in Mexico policy. American First Legal is partnered with the Texas Attorney General in separate lawsuit versus Biden to require expulsion of illegal migrants to stop COVID super spread." As a personal aside, it was one of my greatest professional honors to be able to work on both MPP, which is Remain in Mexico, and the now canceled Safe Third agreements for President Trump. We must use every legal tool in our arsenal to stop Biden's erasure of our territorial sovereignty. AFL won't back down. So this is a big deal because it's getting nuts with the illegal immigration that's coming in here. Um, and what's nuts to me is how they're trying to force citizens to take the vaccine, have to have vaccine passports, do this, have to wear a mask, have to lock down. They're saying that we have to do that ordered by the federal government, who has no authority to make us. But all the illegal immigrants coming across, they are all refusing to be vaccinated, but they're still releasing them here. Now, while I don't think the COVID thing is such a big deal with them coming in, I'm not worried about COVID. I'm worried about a lot of other stuff, and it needs to stop. Honestly, it really does. It's very dangerous. And the government is so corrupt, and they'll do anything to retain the power that they have. And so far, they've done a really good job at keeping hold of it, but we are gaining wins. So that's good. But speaking of the government, one last thing I want to talk about with the government, real quick, is the FDA is one step away from declaring dietary supplements drugs. So I saw this on Facebook by a doctor. He does dietary supplements. He does NAC, which I was told is like an well, not like, it's an antioxidant. It's really good for you, and it helps a lot of people with their other issues when they take it as a supplement. And the FDA wants to list it as a scheduled drug, so now you have to get a prescription to get it. So, now this is from 2009, this year, but they're just now gaining momentum in doing it. Is That's what I found, is that it's now gaining momentum. Um, let's see, NAC supplement. Okay, so let's see if I can pull up that article that I saw. Okay, so this is the one I saw here. FDA threatens to ban critical toxin protection supplement. It's on shaky legal grounds, but it's in astylocysteine. Okay, I don't know. NAC. So it's an important antioxidant supplement. The FDA declared that it is a drug, not a dietary supplement. They said there's a direct threat to a supplement that many integrative doctors and patients rely on to address a variety of health conditions. So they sent a bunch of warning letters last year targeting lots of supplement companies and marketing these supplements as unapproved cures for hangovers, which the FDA is considering a hangover to be a disease. So if the supplement cures a disease, it's now a scheduled drug. That's how they're getting this is a loophole. Um so the FDA stated that NAC does not meet the legal definition of a supplement because it was approved as a drug in 1963. According to federal law, any substance approved as a drug before it was sold as a supplement cannot be sold as a supplement. All of this means that the status of NAC as a supplement is currently in dispute. But there's a number of problems with it. The agency considered many health claims in relation to NAC supplements and did not raise these objections about the legality of NAC supplements then. So, for years, FDA treated NAC like a supplement, and companies invested a lot of resources in getting it together. But now, the FDA wants to turn this around. And it says that the courts have found that when agency policies involve serious reliance interests, it is arbitrary and capricious for those interests to be disregarded without adequate explanation. There's also serious questions that must be answered about the FDA's assertion that NAC was approved as a drug in 1963. As stakeholders have pointed out, the available documentation obtained through the Freedom of Information Act allegedly proving that NAC was approved as a drug in 1963 is a handwritten note. The fact that the date is handwritten throws doubt on the reliability of the FDA's assertions. So further, the alleged 1963 approval and subsequent NAC drug approvals were for inhaled drugs. For the FDA's logic to apply here, the supplement would have to be the same article as the approved drug. Because NAC supplements are taken orally at a different dosages, there are significant differences between NAC drugs and NAC supplements. These important differences should be enough to keep NAC supplements on the market. Anyway, so now they're coming after our dietary supplements. Why? Because the FDA is corrupt and all they want to do is make money and more money and more money. And if they can list these as a drug, they make money off of it. Plus, they can keep people from being able to stay healthy, which is probably what they want, because the less healthy and in shape you are, the easier you are to control and comply to what the government wants you to do. That's all this is. That is all this is. It is trying to keep us fat, lazy, and unhealthy. And we need to push back on that, because I am not going to be the one sitting there waiting for government handouts. I would rather die than to take a government handout on a daily basis because they refuse to let me live my life in a free country. That's how I feel. So I'm not looking forward to. I there's a day coming. There's a revolution that's coming. Whether it's going to be a revolution like the Revolutionary War, whether it's going to be a civil war, I don't really know. It may not be like that, but there is something coming, because it's got to go one way or the other. We either have to push back, stand up, and put a stop to these corrupt, greedy, evil, wicked people on the left, and the ones that are like that on the right as well. Or we just sit back, let them take over, totally lose our country, our freedoms, and be miserable, starving, depressed people until the day we die. But we have to make a choice. And that choice is it will need to be made very, very soon. Okay. So everybody knows, well, if you pay attention to the news and everything, you do know at this moment in time Biden has decided to pull the troops out of Afghanistan. And at the time that he did that, the Taliban rushed in and started wreaking havoc and taking back over the country, which, to my knowledge, the last I read, they have taken 2/3 of the country is under Taliban control now. So, this is from DW.com. Why is the U.S. in a rush to pull out troops from Afghanistan? I have not read this previously, so I don't know. Okay. The Taliban in Afghanistan, I got hiccups, have maintained close ties with the Al Qaeda terrorist group, according to a report by independent monitors to the UN Security Council. One of the U.S. preconditions for the U.S. and Taliban signed historic deal landmark deal with the Taliban in Doha on February 29th was that the Afghan militant group sever all ties with Al Qaeda, the terrorist outfit responsible for orchestrating September 11th, 2001 attacks on U.S. soil. At the time of the deal, the Taliban said that they had cut off their relations with the international Islamist organization. The Taliban regularly consulted with Al Qaeda during negotiations with the U.S. and offered guarantees that it would honor their historical ties. One of the reasons behind the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan in 2001 was that the Taliban, who ruled the country from 1996 to 2001, had provided shelter to Al Qaeda commanders. If the Taliban failed to keep its promise on the Al Qaeda issue, the U.S. could end the Doha deal. Atiquela Amarkale, an Afghan security expert, told DW, adding that it would be a setback for the Afghan peace process. If the U.S. Taliban deal collapses, there will be no winner. Afghanistan will face a prolonged crisis, and all stakeholders, including the Afghan government, the Taliban, and the U.S., will lose, Jawed Kohistani, a Kabul based expert, underlined. So, is it it is unimaginable that Washington was not aware of the Taliban's continued connections to al-Qaeda while it was sealing an agreement with the Afghan insurgent group in Doha. But that has not deterred. I don't know if it's Doha or Doha, I don't know. Western diplomats have told media that the U.S. is likely to reduce the number of its troops in Afghanistan to 8,600 ahead of a timeline agreed with the Taliban in Doha agreement. At this point, I know it was like 3,500, but they're supposed to be sending back in like 3,000 to evacuate the American embassy. Um, so let's see. I want to look at something really quick. Okay. According to the Doha deal, the U.S. must bring down the troops from about 13,000 to 8,600 by mid-July and completely exit by May 2021. American and NATO officials now confirm that the first stage of troops withdrawal may well be achieved by mid-June. Now, let me also tell you, I know that this says by May of 2021, but for some reason, Biden has given himself the deadline to get everybody out by September 11th. Why? Why September 11th? Seems like just a really odd thing, an odd deadline. A 20-year anniversary of September 11th seems kind of like an odd deadline to me. Experts say this could be a result of the coronavirus pandemic in the U.S., which has killed over 100,000 people in the country so far. The Trump administration is grappling with an unprecedented public health crisis. So this was written during the Trump administration, I guess. So it says, it seems that the U.S. pressure on the Afghan government and the Taliban is yielding some results. Kabul and the insurgent group have recently taken some surprising confidence building measures. In May, the Taliban announced a 3-day ceasefire to mark the Eid celebrations. Afghan President Ghani lauded the move and released around 2,000 Taliban prisoners as a goodwill gesture. Well, that was dumb. Ghani has also been able to iron out differences with his political rival Abdullah, who had claimed victory in last year's presidential elections and formed his own government parallel to Ghani's. After months of international mediation, Ghani and Abdullah last month signed a power-sharing agreement, which mandates Abdullah to lead Afghanistan's High Council for Peace while Ghani remains president. The Afghan government has also formed a team for negotiations with the Taliban. Abdullah says Kabul is ready to start talks at any moment. Okay, so this is the big deal is about they had an agreement to get troops out, but here's the problem. The troops that we sent in there to do when we originally sent troops in there, and it was because of them protecting Al-Qaeda, who were responsible for 9/11. That's why we went. It's kind of a declaration of war that you're protecting our enemies, right? But then we're there and we're trying to build them a democratic government, help expel all of their human rights abuses, but there is no we didn't succeed in doing that. And I'll tell you why we didn't succeed in doing that. Because you didn't get rid of the problem. You may have taken back control and pushed the problem back, but it's still there. And it's waiting for the day that we leave, that our troops leave, so they can take it back over. And that's exactly what they did. I'll tell you how you finish a war. It's an endless war, but I'll tell you how you actually finish one. Now, whether or not you believe in the conspiracy that President Roosevelt knew ahead of time that Japan was coming to bomb Pearl Harbor and that he allowed it to happen so that he could enter into the war because the citizens didn't want to, a lot of the government officials didn't want to enter into World War II, but with the bombing of Pearl Harbor, they had no choice but to enter the war. And a lot of people claim that Roosevelt knew this was coming and he allowed it to happen anyway, just so we could go to war. Now, doesn't matter if you believe that or not. And I don't even know if Roosevelt did try to stop it, if we would have been able to prevent anything from happening, or if maybe it just would not have been quite as severe. We don't know. We can't go back in the past and check that. But what I do know, what stops the threat, is we didn't pussyfoot around and play around with an enemy that came and attacked us on our soil pretty much for no reason because we weren't involved in the war. So we ended it by flying over to Japan and dropping atomic bombs. And let me tell you what, we've not had any wars with Japan or them threatening war against us. We've been allies with Japan, right? That's how you end it. You wipe out all of Al Qaeda, all of the Taliban, get rid of all the terrorists. You don't just get rid of the big guys at the top making all the decisions because someone's there to take his place and there to take his place and there to take his place. It just goes on and on and on and on. You wipe them out. Get rid of all of them. They're not good people. They're never going to be good people. They're always going to go in when there's an opportunity. They're going to start killing women and forcing them back to being second class citizens and treating them like crap and beheading people, shooting them in the streets. They're going to be attacking gay people, and even if there's transgender people over there, which I don't know if there is because I don't know if they're that progressive over there. I don't know. But that is what's going to start happening. And a lot of innocent lives are going to be lost because we couldn't go in and finish a job completely. And this will go on forever and forever and forever unless they're wiped out. That's a move that should have been made 20 years ago. But I digress. We have governments who like wars because wars make you money. That's why they like them. So on the same topic, this here is the Afghan president, and this is by Emily Zanotti from Daily Wire. So, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has fled the country, effectively leaving Afghanistan in Taliban control. Tolo News first reported Ghani's departure on social media Sunday morning. Fox News confirmed that Ghani and a core team of close allies were flown out around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. He tweeted out, "That's it, it's over," U.S. officials say. That's a reporter, Lewis Thomason. So, Afghanistan's embattled president left the country Sunday, joining his fellow citizens and foreigners in a stampede fleeing the advancing Taliban and signaling the end of a 20-year Western experiment aimed at remaking Afghanistan, Associated Press. The former president of Afghanistan left Afghanistan, leaving the country in this difficult situation. Abdullah, the head of the Afghan National Reconciliation Council, said in an online video confirming Ghani's flight, "God should hold him accountable." Yeah, he shouldn't have fled. I mean, he is the leader. He should have stuck around and he should have tried to, do something about it. But, I mean, what are you supposed to do when all of the protection is leaving, when you've been working with the U.S. troops to establish some kind of democratic country and to make it better for the people living there, and then we just rip them out and pretty much just concede that we're not gonna be here anymore, so do whatever you want. And of course that's what the Taliban did, is they just started taking over again. What else can you do? I don't think they have enough uh, of the capability to fight back against the Taliban, and they don't have any allies coming in to help. Their biggest ally is leaving. What are they supposed to do? The president's departure suggests that the Taliban will soon be in control, according to reports. The Taliban moved into the city and beyond where they had been stationed at the city walls, almost immediately following news that Ghani was out of the country. The Taliban is reportedly awaiting a peaceful transfer of Kabul city, a spokesperson for the group told the BBC, but they have so far refused to give details of what they are requesting or whether there will be any deal beyond a complete takeover with a short window for evacuation. The U.S. has, according to news reports, asked the Taliban for a 2-week window to allow for a full evacuation of U.S. personnel and key allies, particularly Afghan translators and their families, who have, as of Sunday morning, reportedly been offered a safe haven in Canada. Like they're really going to honor that. Ben Shapiro says that this is exactly what happened. This is going to be exactly the same picture as what happened in Saigon. And we're going to be having video of lifting people off of the rooftops and helicopters to get them out. I don't know because I don't know much about the Vietnam War and what happened, I guess it was Saigon. I don't know, but I'm sure Ben Shapiro is pretty well versed on history. I would probably tend to agree with that statement. The Taliban, which for hours had been in the outskirts of Kabul, announced soon after they would move further into a city gripped by panic throughout the day as helicopters raced overhead to evacuate personnel from the U.S. Embassy. Smoke rose near the compound as staff destroyed important documents. Several other Western missions also prepared to pull their people out. Now, I don't know if they were being pulled from rooftops, but obviously helicopters are what get you out of there. I get that. The United States also announced that it would be leaving its embassy, completing a process begun earlier on Sunday morning. The U.S. plans to evacuate hundreds of personnel and officials from the embassy within 72 hours as staff rush to burn sensitive documents and prepare to abandon the embassy to the Taliban for the time being. The withdrawal of embassy personnel makes a rapid acceleration of the process that had only been announced on Thursday and is a situation that many State Department security officials expected would have to happen given the speed with which the Taliban has gained territory. Most of most of the American diplomats will go to the airport in Kabul, the capital, and then fly back to the U.S. A small number of core personnel, including the top U.S. diplomat in the country, will remain at the Kabul airport for now, the sources said. This means that the U.S. Embassy in Kabul will be shuttered, at least for the time being, by Tuesday. Um, I think it was a dumb move. I really, really do. I think it was very dumb to pull out. I don't get it. Um, what's the date today? Is it the 15th? Okay. So it is the 15th. Well, at the day I'm recording this, because it'll be the 16th when you hear it. But at the time I'm recording this, it is August 15th. If you're a blind viewer, you can go look at it on my video, the article that I pulled up about abandoning the embassy. Um, I don't know if there's any new information. I'm just going to kind of simply scroll through it. Um, okay, so here's something new. The U.S. had previously planned to evacuate most from the embassy while leaving a core group of dignitaries in place. That plan was scrapped, however, after the Taliban swept through Afghanistan in a blitz that saw the fall of multiple major Afghan cities within days. The Taliban also took over the former U.S. military base at Bagram Air Base. The airbase was turned over to the Afghan government last month as the U.S. worked towards pulling out the country. The Taliban took control of Bagram Air Base on Sunday, a former American air base that the U.S. turned over to the Afghanistan government last month. The Taliban have reportedly released thousands of prisoners that were held at Bagram, including members of Al Qaeda, the terror group that carried out the 9/11 attacks and prompted the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan in 2001. Bagram was under control of the U.S. military for roughly 2 decades before leaving it in control of the Afghan military in July as the U.S. pulled out of Afghanistan. The Taliban claims it overran Bagram Air Base and freed prisoners. Many high value detainees were located there, including members of Al Qaeda. This will reverberate for years to come, said Bill Roggio, long war journal editor and terror analyst. Afghan president, yeah, he fled the country. We know that. Taliban leaders are reportedly at the presidential palace in Kabul. Residents of Kabul and refugees who took shelter in the Afghan capital city over the last several weeks as the Taliban seized power in the country's southern provinces are now trying to flee the city, but finding roads blocked and airports now under Taliban control. Taliban fighters entered Kabul on Sunday and sought the unconditional surrender of the central government, officials said, as Afghans and foreigners alike raced for the exit, signaling the end of a 20-year Western experiment aimed at remaking Afghanistan. So this is what they're dealing with right now. I would expect to see a lot. Now, obviously, you have to go to not your mainstream legacy media. You're going to have to go find alternative media. But I would expect to see a lot of disturbing, horrific, depressing, and sad news coming out of Afghanistan over the next few days, weeks, months. Who knows what's going to happen, but it's not going to be pretty. Okay, I want to end on a note that's not so heavy. Maybe let you have a laugh. If you watch Slightly Offensive, you will know that on his last episode or the one before that, I don't remember, it's either the last one or the one before that, he pulled up a Wikipedia article about the Caucasian race because there's a TikTok going around, and I bet you I can find it. There's a TikTok going around that the white race is a genetic defect. All right. We are not existent. We are obsolete. So there you go. That's what's happening.
We aren't supposed to exist. Being white is a genetic mutation.
Hostile UAV above. Stupid!
Okay, so we're obsolete. We don't exist. So this is Wikipedia now. The Caucasian race, also Caucasoid or Europid, is an obsolete racial classification of human beings based on a now disproven theory of biological race. The Caucasian race was historically regarded as a biological taxon which, depending on which of the historical race classifications was being used, usually included ancient and modern populations from all or parts of Europe, Western Asia, Central Asia, South Asia, North Africa, and the Horn of Africa. Now, I read through this entire Wikipedia article, and a lot of it's over my head. It's a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo that I don't understand. But I understand obsolete racial classification. Now, people are morons. But coming across this, I came across an article from 2017. It also has a lot of scientific mumbo jumbo. I will not read the whole thing, but I will post a link to the article in the description box so you can read the whole thing if you would like. We're just going to skim some of it, okay? And we're just going to have a laugh at how ridiculous and racist this article is. Oh, no, no, no. It's not racist against black people, it's racist against white people. Why the white skin is a genetic defect. This is from blackpepper.com, BLAKK pepper.com. This was written January 23rd, 2017. Okay. Whites cannot reproduce anything but themselves. Through powerful propaganda and indoctrination, we have been completely oblivious to what having white skin really means. We have been skillfully misled to believe that white skin is mankind's anthropological model and should be coveted. However, recent research paints a picture of white skin that is just the antithesis of what we have been brainwashed to believe. The polar bear analysis that was done by the Discovery Channel helps prove my point. If you shave the hair off a polar bear, the skin beneath is black. In nature, the skin of the polar bear is black to absorb as much heat and light as possible to keep the Arctic animal warm in its environment. It is also true for the Eskimo, the Inuits. Human adaptation remains an insufficiently studied part of climate and climate change. Scientists have tried for years to prove that the environment was responsible for altering heredity. Now, I'm not going to read all of this other stuff. All these paragraphs I'm mentioning, it's about the darker skin being able to absorb light. The lighter skin deflects light. That's why snow doesn't melt because it deflects, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff, okay? Then it talks about something about your enzyme inhibitors that produce your melanin. It suppresses the melanin production. Something has to do with, I don't know. I don't want to read all that. Okay. So, well, it talks about like, um, just different darker parts of the skin, your private areas and stuff, which may have been evolved for protection of reproductive capacity. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, okay? So it says here, it says that the melanin deficiency is why their reproduction system does not work as efficiently as it should. White people's. Whites attribute their failure of reproduction to behavioral or societal reasons. However, the reason is more a biological one. Melanin is present at the inception of life. A melanin sheath covers both the sperm and the egg. In the human embryo, the melanocytes, or the skin pigment cells, brain, and nerve cells all originate from the same place, the neural crest. So the skin pigment cells resemble nerve cells and are essential for conveying energy. When melanin is missing or insufficient in the ectoderm of the early embryo, this causes the mother to lose her baby. In the case of whites, a defective baby is produced, and over time, through inbreeding, wears down the already pathetically low levels of melanin. Reproduction stops altogether, and virtual infertility is the end result. Well, I am white, and I don't know what fertility problems they are speaking of. I have 4 children. I am not having any fertility problems because of the lack of melanin in my skin. Okay, just had to throw that out there. So it talks about vitamin D metabolization, that white people have the lowest bone density of all other people. Um, White people reflect the sunlight, so we can't, get all that. Um, and that's why we're more susceptible to kidney stones than other people. Our bone mass is depleted, and that's why we have low bone density. But it says it is widely regarded that black people have the strongest bones of all people from infancy to old age. Um, so not just with the reproductive and nervous system, but it plays an important part in sight and hearing. It says blue eyes are simply eyes that lack melanin. Blue eyes are more sensitive to sunlight and do not process light or produce sight as efficiently as brown eyes. Isn't it funny how many people place divine qualities with blue eyes that are nothing but genetically defective? Let me just say right here, you can say a lot of things about me that roll off my back. But if you dare say something negative about my eyes, because my eyes are blue and they are a very, very pretty shade of blue, I've been told that all my life, and I take pride in the color of my eyes. No. Look, I love my eye color. I have like a blue gray kind of thing going on with some green flecks in there in the sunlight. But I'm not sensitive to sunlight just because I have blue eyes. Yes, I have bad eyes and I wear glasses, but that's genetic. And some people just have bad eyes. I've even seen black people have to wear glasses. Okay, moving on. It's also said to be linked with hearing. I have pretty good hearing. I don't think that's an issue. Um, it's really, I don't know. It says evidence shows that black people on average hear better than whites, and that within both races, women surpass men. So there you go. So there's an anthropologist named Dargret Mead. Named Dr. Margaret Mead. In an experiment with indigenous Australians, black Melanesian Islander children, and white Anglo-Saxon children in the U.S., revealed that the memory bank of the black children was greater and their instant recall ability from memory outstanding. She, like most renowned researchers, concluded that black children have a deeper memory bank and hence higher IQ than their counterpart European, and American biochemists have attributed this great phenomenon to neuromelanin, a chemical responsible for black. Just a little grammatical correction here. Hence, higher IQ than their counterpart European, semicolon, American biochemists have attributed. Okay? Or even a period would have been nice. That is the most run on sentence I've ever read. That's why I always read it incorrectly, because it's a complete run on. Okay, so there's also a book called The Chemical Key to Black Greatness by Carol Barnes. Okay, it described melanin as, quote, a civilizing chemical that acts as a sedative to help keep the black human calm, relaxed, caring, creative, energetic, and civilized, end quote. As if people of all other races are not also calm, relaxed, caring, creative, energetic, and civilized. I guess only black people are the civilized people on planet Earth. Everybody else is animals. Research also revealed that melanin enables black skin to actively interact with the sun to produce vitamin D from a biochemical substance, 7-dihydrocholesterol. The study also detected that melanin has spiritual dynamics as well as physical, since it acts as a sensory receptor and transmitter, communicating with cosmic energy fields in the vast universe, converting light energy to sound energy and back. Dr. Richard King, MD, stated that, quote, melanin, by its ability to capture light and hold it in a memory mode, reveals that blackness converts light into knowledge, end quote. Okay, so it just says melanin is essential for the efficient performance of all the body's natural functions. Um, it seems a little ironic that white people deem themselves genetically superior with the oxymoron of white supremacy. I don't know of any white person who deems us genetically superior. I don't know any white person who has said that. Honestly. Um, there's nothing supreme about a genetic defect. White people are merely mutated inbred albinos. Um, let me just give a little bit of information. Black people can also be albino. There are some. All albino is you just don't have pigmentation. You have no melanin. It's not a defect. It's not a mutation. It's just your DNA. Saying that we're defective and mutated is saying that God didn't know how to create us properly. Um, I wouldn't want to be you when you tell God he made a mistake and made white people defective. Just saying. This alone adds credence to them being an inferior stock. To feel better about themselves, they develop totally senseless propaganda to flatter them and to make them feel better about their genetic condition at the expense of people of color. The doll test, where it has been reported that both white kids and black kids prefer white dolls, is solely out of ignorance. Okay, it has clearly been shown that white skin is actually indicative of albinism. Albinism is a genetic defect. Who in their right mind would prefer a genetically defective condition to one that is nature's normal and has been proven more efficient? This is why we need to continue our crusade to decolonize the minds of the original genetic template, black people, to see through the nonsense propagated by white people to flatter themselves. Total ignorance can be fought with knowledge. A more recent tactic white people use to appease themselves is the implicit association test. They have devised a means to make it seem as though white people are supposed to be the most desirable people on the planet and that everyone wants to be like them and around them. I don't know where they're getting these sources from because I don't know anybody that thinks that either. If you can see through the nonsense, then you will know what I mean. Would you want to be around a bunch of paranoid genetic defects with psychological problems and with intermittently inferior genes? In a nutshell, black people, being the original genetic template, are the only fully normal people on the planet. White people are albinos, recessive genetic defects, and other ethnicities are merely admixtures in between. Always remember these points, and you should never have to hold your head down to any recessive genetic defects. All phenotypes exist within the black family. Asian people are only the semi-recessive descendants of their ancestors who were a black African tribe with slanted eyes. White people are the albinos of a specific group of Africans and have inherited those people's phenotypes. They try to imply that their phenotypes were originally theirs and that if you see people of African descent with these features, they inherited them from white people. Nothing is further from the truth. Blacks are the genetic parents. Remember, whites cannot reproduce anything else but themselves. They cannot produce genetic material they don't have, melanin. Therefore, they cannot reproduce us, but we can reproduce them and all others in humanity. Just a quick correction as well. You're saying that we don't have melanin. That's not true. White people do have melanin. They just have less of it, and sometimes it gets darker if they're out in the sun. Like I tan, not on purpose, but if I'm out in the sun a lot, I tan very, very easily, and I can get pretty dark. When I was younger and used to go out to the lake all the time, I could get so dark to look like maybe I might be Hispanic. But that doesn't mean that we don't have melanin just because we have light skin. Albinos, yes, but they're very few portion of the population. So that's an untrue statement. That's spreading misinformation. We do have melanin. And two parents that are very light skinned can actually produce a darker skinned child. It happens. Two parents with blonde hair, because they may have dominant and recessive genes instead of both recessive, but two parents with blonde hair can produce a child with brown hair. My sister and my nephew's dad, they did not have red hair, yet my nephew has a slightly reddish colored hair. Just saying, it's nothing serious to be freaking out about. They end the article by saying, this should also convince you that all of the great civilizations from antiquity had to be started by us. White people with their recessive genes and poorly refined reproductive systems could not have lasted that long, seemingly that they are disappearing faster than anything now. Breeding with us or breeding without us. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I wanted to leave a comment on this article, but unfortunately, they turned the comments off, most likely because of this comment. You jump through so many conclusions, my head is still bouncing like a jackrabbit. Fitting, since you write and spell like a jackass who's aiming to use big words out of a dictionary. That isn't a jab at black people at all. I know for a fact one is above me in terms of class rankings in my school. This is a jab at you as a writer, as an artist of the Queen's English. You are a disgrace to all forms of literature, and I genuinely wish someone prints 1,000 copies of this to set it ablaze. So, anyway, Um, probably the most racist thing that I've ever read. Can I just read something here? I I'm gonna flip flop this here. Okay. Whites are the genetic parents. Remember, blacks cannot reproduce anything but themselves. This should also convince you that all of the great civilizations were started by us, white people. Black people are poorly refined reproductive systems could not have lasted that long, seemingly that they are disappearing faster than anything now. Or white people are the original genetic template. I don't know. It's probably the most racist thing I've ever read. And if this was written and the roles were reversed, there would have been such backlash about this article being written. So I just wanted to draw attention to it. And there is no name for who wrote it. That's the terrible thing, because I would have loved to know the name. Amenhotep, I guess. I guess this is who it is. Let's see if we can't find something here. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'll check it out and I'll let you know on Facebook. Um, it's just a person from history, so I don't think it has anything to do with anything. So I will put the link to this article in the description if you want to go take a look at it for yourself. I really wanted to leave a comment, but like I said, they shut them off, so I couldn't. But I thought this would be a fun place to end it, a little lighthearted, have a big laugh because it's the dumbest thing also that I've ever read. And I just want to say, if you want to call me racist, or if you want to be racist against me, you want to hate me because I'm white, um, I don't care. You can hate me for whatever reason. Doesn't bother me one bit. Just know the bitterness and the anger and the hatred that you feel towards people, it does not necessarily and most often affect the people that you're targeting. It affects you. This is why they say that we forgive people for doing us wrong. We don't forgive them for them, we forgive them for our own well being. So, all of that hatred you're feeling against white people right now, it's not affecting the white people personally. Yes, there are problems that are causing issues, but on their own personal level, most white people are just like, you're an idiot. Okay, whatever. Because it's stupid. And I don't care why you hate me or why you don't like me because it doesn't bother me. Because you know what? I'm not here to please you or any other person on the planet. I was brought here to please God. I was born and created so eventually I would find God and have a relationship with Him. That was my purpose. And after finding that purpose, I branch out and I share that with people. I raise and nurture my kids in it. And here's another purpose that I've come across and found: sharing the truth of everything with people on a podcast. Never thought this would be something I would do, but here I am doing it, and I absolutely love doing it. And I hope that you enjoy listening and being a part of it as well. I really do hope you enjoy that. Okay, gonna end that here, and I'm gonna go eat. I'm starving. But before I do, just want to say join my Facebook, Lauren Collins. I just got to say something. Email me, gotta say something 21 at gmail.com. And you can find me as a blind viewer on Anchor, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcast, Stitcher. Go subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review. That would be great. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and share this video. Leave me a comment and I will get back to it. I promise. Also, please subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to get support and it really helps. And hit the notification bell so you know every time I upload a new video. I'm also going to leave the links to my petition for getting transgender men out of the women's prisons and also the link to my merch t-shirt, if you want to purchase one of those. And I'm working on getting um, a I just got to say something logo hoodie started. Well, two different ones. I'll let you know when those are up. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you back here tomorrow. God bless.